I call this City of Siloam Springs Planning Commission to order. Before we begin our business, I want to say that we're very thankful. We're public officials, so I'd like to ask commissioners, please rise and do the pledge to our nation's colors with me. Please join me in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Yes. Montgomery?
Here.
Sally?
Here.
McKinney?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Driscoll?
Here.
Kenzie?
Here.
Thank you very much. You've all received the minutes of our meeting from June the 8th, 2021. There are some corrections to those minutes.
One is on item D1 at the bottom. It should say this item will go to the Planning Commission July 13th. And on items G1 and G2 for the annexations, it should say to the board on June 15th, 2021.
You've heard the corrections to the minutes. Are there any others? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as corrected. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion is approved. Minutes are approved. Item number 1 on today's agenda is Significant Development Permit SD 21-03. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I'm Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. Before you is a significant development permit occurring at 22,000 block of Highway 16. As you may recall, the Planning Commission reviewed this permit and recommended for its approval on the April 13th, 2021 meeting. And again, last month on June 8th, 2021. You tabled this permit at that meeting as the needed changes were not yet ready for your review. These are now prepared for your approval. Just to remind you why this is before you again, the applicant elected to make a major design change to the project, which entails rearranging the position of the buildings in relation to the drainage pond. This is in response to the recently approved project to the north of the site for Rock Hill Foods. Should be noted that the size of the buildings remain the same as before at 15,000 square feet. So here is the site plan. Like last time, the developer is only wanting to do one of the 5 buildings at this time. The current approval is just for the top left of the buildings, which you see is blown up on the bottom, or blown up on the top left and blown up on the bottom right. So the principal change is that as I mentioned, the building and the drainage ponds are swapping places. Where the building was before is where the pond's going, and vice versa. And I do want to point out that it's been made aware to me that there was a Scrivener's error in the 3rd bullet on page 8 of the staff report. The pond is being shifted to the northeast corner. I believe it said northwest. I forget who told it. Was that you? That one of you told me that, so thank you. And then this error will be corrected in time for the board's review as well. So this I presented this last time is essentially what the structure will look like. It won't be exactly like this, but this is just to give you a representative model of what's being proposed. And here you see the landscape plan here, pretty much the same as before, but obviously indicating the new location of the pond and the building. And then here is the building being overlaid. Again, we're just approving only this building at this time. The remaining 4 buildings would have to come back as another significant development permit. And then here is the site view. It's looking to the north. So staff is recommending approval with two needed conditions. The first is that the applicant either construct the needed sidewalk or pay a sidewalk fee that's amount of $444.44. The second condition is requesting that there's a need for an off-site utility easement for sewer and water main extensions to be able to make this project work. So requesting that would be done by separate instrument. And with that, we are available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone from the audience representing or have comments? Commissioners? Whoop, I'm sorry. Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this development? No questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve significant development permit SD 2103, subject to the following conditions. The applicant shall construct sidewalk or pay a sidewalk fee prior to building permit issuance, projected to be $444.44. The applicant shall acquire off-site utility easement for sewer and water main extension as needed via the separate instrument prior to building permit issuance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Montgomery. Sally.
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Driscoll.
Yes.
Enzi.
Yes.
Song. Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next on the agenda is the final plat development permit, FP 2103. Mr. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. For your next review item, you're looking at a final plat application to 22,000 block of Davidson Road. The request is to split the nearly 13-acre parcel into 6 lots. The applicant is not required to obtain a preliminary plat because he is not proposing any publicly dedicated infrastructure like a new street or new utility lines or things like that. Here is the site plan. Each lot will access directly onto Davidson Road, and they're all about 2 acres, a little over 2 acres in size. There's no set land use for these. However, it'll likely be residential homes or small farms. Here is the site view looking to the north. Staff is recommending approval with the standard condition on filing within 45 days of approval, and we are available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Do we have any comments from the audience representing FP 2103? Please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Geoff Farmer. I live at 21923 Davidson Road, across the Davidson Road from this property right here. And I'm just wondering if anybody was, I had 3 questions was about the road. That is a dirt road right there, and that receives right now quite a bit of traffic and what have you up and down the thing. I also wanted to know if the city, if they were requesting any kind of infrastructure from the city as far as water, because city water does go up Davidson Road right there. And was they going to be requesting any kind of city electric up that road right there, because it's in Carroll Electric territory right now? That's my questions.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments from the audience? Ben? Or should I call on Justin?
I think I can handle it, but Justin can save me if he needs to. The issue of the road, as you know from reading on today's agenda, there's another project actually just down the street from this that is required to, because of the nature of that particular development project, they are required to asphalt the portion in front of their project going all the way to Country Club. And so the gravel nature, that's just going to go away once, if that other project is developed. I do also believe that there's a 2-inch line, I may be mistake like that, but roughly around 2-inch line there, that will be upgraded. It would have to be upgraded to be able to service the other development. Again, that's later on the agenda. But I think that this project will probably be able to take advantage of that as far as the water upgrade. I cannot speak for the electric as far as what will happen with that. If it's in Carroll's territory, then it would be under Carroll Electric. So unless we expand our territory going north of there. So.
Any other comments from the audience? Commissioners? No comments from the commissioners. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve of final plat 21-03, subject to the following condition. The applicant must file this plat at Benton County Circuit Clerk's office prior, provide 2 file copies to the city within 45 days of board's acceptance of this plat.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve FP 2103. Roll call.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next item on the agenda is preliminary plat development permit PP 2102. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Next for your consideration is, as you stated, a preliminary plat development permit. This is occurring at 816 Highway 16. The proposal is to subdivide 2 tracts into 88 single-family lots, creating what's called the Bellevue Edition. A previous version of the subdivision was under review for 64 lots, but throughout the review process, it became apparent that they wanted to have increased the number of lots. And so because the proposal was a higher density, staff did request that the applicant redo the legal notification and essentially submit a new application for review based off of the changes. Here is the site plan, which includes a single entrance coming off of Highway 16, and then a secondary egress that will connect to another subdivision that's under development that you'll see shortly called Somerset Edition. The drainage is shown here to be up in the corner of the property. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of give you an overview. I don't normally show a slide like this, but because of all the development in this area, just kind of show how this all interconnects. So we have Foxtail here to the left. That was the PUD that was done, I believe, about a couple years ago. That's not a preliminary plat, but was approved through planned unit development for lots essentially meeting that configuration. Of course, we have Bellevue, which is under consideration right now, and then Somerset, which is currently under development. And then we have yet another proposal for the final part of Somerset that will go up to the north there. So just kind of showing, as you probably read in the staff report, originally there were going to be 2 streets that came out straight out on both sides, but they were misaligned with these intersections. So they have opted to do just a single street that connects to create a true intersection there that would tie in with the future Foxtail Street when it gets built. Here we just have the final site view. This is looking to the north. Staff is recommending approval with some needed conditions. And these are that the final plat indicates a note that shows that the lots cannot access directly onto Highway 16. And what I'm referring to that is the allowing like a rear driveway behind the lot. So each lot would have to access to the interior. Here, I'll erase this so it's better clear. So each lot would access onto the local streets rather than onto 16. And that would allow for better access management. So that's the first condition, and we've done that on other developments similar to this one. The second condition is that there is a need for a related off-site drainage easement, and that's related to the easement over here. So we do need that easement along with the prior to construction on the property. And that concludes the presentation, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? Please state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jake Chavis. I'm the engineer on this project. I'm just letting you guys know I'm here, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. Commissioners?
I had 2 questions. One was about the road in the Somerset district, Ben. Is that,
Ben?
I'm trying to get a sense of scale. Is that going to be Simon Sager, or is that going to be a different road? Is it going to have access to 412 is my question.
Not directly right here. Simon Sager will be coming south eventually, but you'll have to jump over that subdivision about maybe a quarter, about a quarter mile to the east of this area. Yeah.
Will the back of that have access to 412 then?
For Somerset, what they're doing is this is a project that just got turned in, and it will go to review next month.
Okay.
But it will have a emergency fire access that will connect it to 412.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then I guess the drainage would be under that once they get the easements, or would it be just an open?
That one I would have to refer back to Justin or the engineer here. So.
Justin, please.
Justin Bland, city engineer. I believe their intention is to put piping underground on that. It still hasn't been completely fleshed out, so that can still, we'll see how that turns out, but I think the intent is to do piping.
And so all the drainage from the surrounding area, the apartment buildings, the Tractor Supply, Somerset, all that's going to be routed through those pipings, or they're going to have separate?
This would be just this side. All those sites you just mentioned, they kind of go north or just due east over towards the ditch there by FF or the former FFO store. So this would be just dedicated for this site.
Okay, thank you. And then I had another question, mainly about the larger area. With all this housing going in there, is there any plan for the city to put in some sort of public space over there, public park or any?
Well, I don't know if you were on the commission when Foxtail came through or not, so. But you could barely see it on this drawing, but the little green area here, that is a park. Okay. Yeah, that is planned for the Foxtail subdivision, and also there will be, in that PUD, there was a multifamily component to it that would be using that park as well, but it would be maintained by the POA. Okay. So.
But would it have like public access to the people in those other neighborhoods?
I mean, I believe they would have access to it. It would not be a quote public park, but I don't know if they would, how that would work until we actually see the final design. Okay. How they would police, who would be in there, who wouldn't. Yeah.
And then, for public safety reasons, so I guess that intersection between Foxtail and Bellevue, is that going to be protected by stoplight or stop sign or anything, just to help access that open public space?
Well, the stop signs would be on the minor streets, so 16 would be a through, and then you have stop signs leading into it.
Okay, so it might be hard for families to get across to that.
Yeah, I mean, it would remain to be seen how that would function. I would also advise that, sometimes when the basins are not a wet basin, they can also be used as rec space as well. So, yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners concerning this project? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve preliminary plat development PP 21-2 under the following conditions: that the applicant shall add a final plat note that there are no new driveways permitted to access Highway 16 prior to acceptance, and that the applicant shall provide all needed off-site drainage easements prior to beginning construction.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the board on August the 3rd.
Thank you very much.
Next item, preliminary plat development, PP 2104, 22-200 Block of Davidson Road, Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. For your next review item, you're looking at another preliminary plat development permit. This is occurring, as you stated, at the 22-100 to 22-200 block of Davidson Road. The proposal is to subdivide a 30.26 acre parcel into 100 single-family residential lots. The project is a continuance of an earlier approved development that was started but was never finished back in 2006, very similar to the Royal Oak and Whispering Oaks project that you guys recently looked at. This property, unlike the Royal Whispering Oaks project, this property is not zoned and is not in the city limits, and also cannot annex into the city because it doesn't attach to the boundary. The black line on the map here, that's the city limit line, and then the subject property is shown in the hatching there. Here you see the site plan, and there are several unique features that are included that are now that are different from before. So now there are 3 entrances off of Davidson Road. Originally, there actually were only 2 entrances, and this was just a cul-de-sac. It didn't have another connection out to the street. And the reason that's being added is it's to allow for the remoteness rule, which, I think we've maybe covered that in some past meetings on subdivisions, but just as a refresher, the remoteness rules as a fire code rule that says that the distance between the 2 outermost roads, you can, if you double that distance, you have to be able to get to the furthest most houses and the depth of the subdivision. So if you remember from the Whispering Oaks, they weren't able to do that because the property was just too narrow. There just was no way to make that work. This one is actually considerably wider, and they are able to do that when they're adding in the additional street, which they've done. Also, as you are probably aware, the frontage road is not paved. That's Davidson Road. So the proposal is also paving 1645 linear feet of Davidson Road. This is meeting the county minimum standards of a 22-foot asphalt or 4-foot gravel shoulders on either side. And then in addition to that, the frontage of the development will have the half-street improvement, which includes the sidewalk and curb and gutter, which is consistent with what's been required for other developments since we've adopted the new master street plan last year. Lastly, there is a on-site detention basin that's shown right here. And we have had that look at by our engineers, and that is sized appropriately for the development that is proposed. And here is the site view. This is looking to the north. And if you look closely, you can just make out kind of where some of those original streets were cut in for the subdivision. that was started but was never finished. So staff is recommending approval with 3 needed conditions for Castlewood. The first condition is related to the need to acquire necessary right-of-way on Davidson Road to make the necessary improvements to that road in order to get the 22-foot width and the 4-foot shoulders. They needed some little bit more right-of-way. The second condition is on the utility easements for the water main and sanitary sewer lines, which need to be extended to the property. These easements are off property and will need to be accepted via a separate instrument. And then the third condition is related to the fact that the property is not within the city limits, as you know, and it does not abut to the city limits, so the annexation is not possible. Therefore, a pre-annexation agreement is needed so that the property owner or any future property owners cannot contest annexation should it become feasible for this property to be annexed in the future. And that is a condition of tying into the city-operated utilities. And with that, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take comments from the audience. Please state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes if I can get this timer working.
All right. I'm Mandy Bussey, and I live at 22023 Annette Drive. And that property that they're doing, on our subdivision, we have an actual pump station that pumps our sewer into the city. But they just started building on the east of us. And those ones, I think they made them use the Siloam Springs utility in order to do it. We were wanting originally to actually annex our subdivision in, but Ben said that we had to be connected. So if we got connected with them, would that not let them connect also? But we're still on Carroll Electric, but we have City of Siloam water, which the price of water is ridiculous. Our cheapest bill is $120 a month. And we were trying to see if there was any way of getting annexed in, or if they're gonna go ahead and go ahead and pave Davidson if they're gonna put in that subdivision. We've got 25 homes and we have a pump station alone. I think our line runs like 4,000 feet from our pump station all the way to Lincoln Street. So we're trying to figure out if they would let us actually annex in, since they started building I think there's 158 and 128 on the Yeagers family property, which the gated community one, actually their gate part of it is supposed to connect to our net drive. And we were wondering if they were going to try and actually connect to our pump system to get it to the city. You have any clues?
That completes your comments?
Yes.
Okay, Ben, can you expand on that, or do we need?
Annexation is possible for this property now because the neighboring property has annexed in. So if they want to annex, they can. It just has to acquire a petition and start with Benton County Clerk's Office and start the annexation process. As to whether it would be accepted or not by the city, I cannot answer that. That's really up to the city board of directors, whether or not we would want to take on the cost of buying out every single house in that subdivision, because they're on Carroll Electric. If they're being annexed, they would have to be on City Electric, and we have to buy them out 355% of their annual electric bill. So.
Okay. Anyone else from the audience on this preliminary plat development? Please state your name and your address for the record once again.
Geoff Farmer, 21923 Davidson Road, here in Siloam. I want to know if we're talking about the infrastructure for these folks right here as far as sewer. It's not available right now. And what I was wondering is, can we put taps to people that might be interested in actually getting on the city sewer if it comes down Davidson Road?
Jason.
Justin Bland, city engineer. So the sewer for this project will actually be completely on site. It'll be a lift station, so everything will kind of drain to the low point, and then they'll have a force main that will pump it back up the hill. So there actually won't be any sewer along Davidson Road as proposed by this project.
Anyone else from the audience? Commissioners?
I appreciated the narrative about the internal discussion on the interpretation of the street code. That was helpful to me, so thank you for adding that. If there are no questions, I would make a motion to approve PB 201-04 with the following conditions. Applicant must acquire needed right-of-way and improve Davidson Road to county standards from the subject property to North Country Club Road. Applicant shall acquire off-site utility easement for sewer and water main extension as needed via separate instrument prior to beginning construction. Applicant must sign pre-annexation agreement with the city prior to extension of city-operated utilities to the subject property, and the applicant shall connect into city electric services prior to final plat acceptance.
I actually had a question about the road extension.
Okay, let's go ahead and get a second, and then we'll go into a discussion for you. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll open the floor for discussion by the commissioners.
I wanted to ask about the road extension. Is doing all the work that's stated in here going to make it easier for the city to expand it later, or is it going to be something that's going to just have to be?
Justin Bland, city engineer. Yeah, it will be set up as kind of the backbone of the future roadway. This is kind of an interesting situation because it's on our master street plan. It's obviously designated as a bigger street than what we foresee in the near future. So it kind of gives us some flexibility, but it'll set up that middle part of it, and then we can just add on appropriately at that whenever we do that.
And then for the part of the road that's going to be to the west to Hyco, when the city finally decides to expand Davidson Road, we'd have to do all that same work on that side of Davidson also?
Unless development occurs before, if one of those fields were to be developed, then that developer would pay that proportionate share or build that proportionate share.
Okay. How is that generally decided? Is it a number of trips that it's going to generate? I'm asking because of the earlier subdivision that's already existing out there. Why weren't they required to?
I'm not sure about that. I know I've heard that at one point the county actually did try to pave that road, and there was some protests from existing property owners to actually give the right of way to do that. So it may have had to do done with that. I'm not really sure about the history of that. I think that was put in maybe about 20 years ago. So the standards were obviously a lot different then as well. So
okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on the preliminary plat 21-04 on the plat on the development? Go for it.
I have a question also. I think Mr. Charles Yancey sent in a letter to us. He said he was going to try to be here, but I don't think he's here. He is here. I'm sorry. Did you want to speak on that?
Well,
Mr.
I'm
Yancey?
sorry. We've already gone past that. We have a motion on the floor now. And a second, and we're discussing that, but.
Okay. I thought that was the question. I was going to ask a question about that of the builder, but. That's fine.
According to Roberts and advice by city attorney, we can't do that.
Yes, sir.
Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next item, rezoning development, RZ 2106, Ben Rhodes, please.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So we're transitioning now to a rezoning application. You're looking at a rezoning to R4, property located at 610 West Tahlequah Street. This is just north of Bob Henry Park, near the existing Quaker Townhomes, not too far from here. Here is a supplied site plan. The rezoning is for the whole lot, and it was recently consolidated together into a single lot. There are currently 2 zones on the property, that being R2 and R3. This proposal will allow for the existing quadplex, which you see shown here, that was built back in the 1980s, to actually be brought into conformity with the zoning, because right now it's considered legal non-conforming. So here is the site plan looking to the north. As you can see, there's a large open area behind the existing quadplex. That is staff's understanding that this will eventually be developed for another similar quadplex project, hence the request to rezone. Should this occur, there would be a need for a separate significant development permit, which would come before you and would cover all the things of density and parking and all that type of thing with that permit. So with that, staff is recommending approval. We do not need any conditions, and we are available for any of your questions. Thank you.
We have anyone from the audience that wants to speak to this? Commissioners? Now is your time to speak up on this. Hearing no discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the rezoning development permit RZ 21-06.
I have a motion to approve RZ 2106. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes. Motion is approved. This will go to the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next item is a special use development permit, SU 2104. Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and planning commissioners. You are considering a special use permit for short-term rental being advertised online for short-term occupancy. This is similar to a hotel or motel. These uses are referred to as bed and breakfasts and are allowed in the zoning code under use unit 10.1, which is a special use in the R2 zone. This is almost identical to the one you looked at, I believe, last month at 305 South Mount Olive. The present proposal, this is occurring at 300 Cortez Drive, which is a cul-de-sac located off of South Mount Olive, south of Highway 412. Here is a letter, some excerpts from the letter. The full letter, of course, was attached with your staff report. To paraphrase, the letter indicates that the guests do not stay long-term and that the home is kept up, which we have confirmed is not a nuisance to the neighborhood. And as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here you go. Look at the actual house. This is looking to the north. And then this is the rear yard area and the foreground, and then the background is the street. And then we did want to flip that around for you so you could see the actual front of the house here and what the property looks like. Staff reviewed this permit, and we find no causes as to why it would not be compatible with the area. It has been in operation as the short-term rental since January 2020, and there's not been any reports or issues from the neighbors that we've been made aware of. Staff is recommending approval. We have no needed conditions and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience representing this property that wants to speak to the commissioners? Commissioners, do you have questions on this property or this permit? You guys are too easy. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve special use development permit 21-04.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. You get the second. Who's second?
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, roll call, please.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next item on the agenda, Special Use Development Permit SU 2105. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So you're considering another special use permit for short-term rental. As you can see from today's agenda, we have a series of these to get through today. So this proposal is occurring at 302 East Jefferson Street, which is a catty corner from the library on the southeast side. The proposal is zoned RO. RET stands for Residential Office. This zone, like the R2 zone, also requires a special use permit for these short-term rentals. Here we have some excerpts from the letter. I do know there's a lot of text up there, so just to paraphrase, the letter indicates that there are no plans of building any structures or installing landscaping which would be a burden to the neighborhood, and guests are screened to comply with sound safety and health standards. And here you see the property. This is, again, looking to the north. The rear yard area is the parking area for the project, or for the property. With that, staff is also recommending approval with no needed conditions. We're available for any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to address this permit? Commissioners, do you have any questions on this?
It's a related topic, but not directly to this house. So Ben, if the owner of this house sells it to another person, how does the permit work? Does the permit continue, or out of curiosity?
It's a use permit being requested by the owner. I believe if the use ceased operation for a certain period, it would basically go in abeyance. I mean, I would think they would need to probably come back for another application. I think the only ones that really run with the land are the variances. I'm looking at Jay just to make sure I'm not misspeaking, but
you're doing fine.
Okay. So yes, so it would, if there's a period of disuse or a different proposal was presented, they would need to come back with another application. Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve SU 21-05.
I have a motion to approve 2105
Second.
and a second. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Next item on the agenda is Special Use Development Permit SU 2106. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again. So here's another request. This is at 400 South Mount Olive Street. This is just to the west of the farmers market, and just actually within walking distance of the previous one you just looked at. This property, like the one on Jefferson, is also zoned RO. And here is this excerpt of the letter. We asked each person to submit a letter, obviously, of just telling us what they were doing, so they're all formatted slightly differently. But yeah, this is essentially, just to paraphrase, indicates that this use has been in place since 2018. The rules are restrictive to any conditions which would generally cause issues with the neighbors, such as loud parties, animals, that type of thing. And with previous permit, staff is not aware of any complaints from the property since it's been in operation. And here is the site view, looking again to the north. So the property we're talking about is this front property here, not the main house on the corner, although the owner of this property lives next door. So this is a little bit different where the owner is actually on site. In case there was any other issues or something, they would be right there to be addressed. The parking is at the rear, and you can see that with the carport here that comes off of a rear alleyway into it. Has the 2 spaces required by code. And with that, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience that would like to address this special use permit? Commissioners, it's your turn.
I had one question. Ben, was this building originally like an auxiliary use building? I forget what it's actually called, but like a mother-in-law suite then when it was first built? Or is it just a separate house that's on the same site?
Well, it's actually on a different, it's the same parcel, but it is a different lot.
Okay.
I don't have history on it. It very well may have been a mother-in-law suite at some point, but I didn't get any actual history on the building.
It says in the letter, built for the mother.
Yeah,
in
so
2000.
there you go. So.
Okay, I guess that got that answer.
Well, I was
Yeah.
just, because I thought it was on a separate lot. I didn't know it was not originally its own.
No, ma'am, I'm sorry. The opportunity for public to speak, Jay. Okay, come on up, ma'am. My attorney advises me that you should come up.
My name's Lee, and we own the property.
Okay,
And
please state your full name and address.
Lee, 400 South Mount Olive. It was originally built as a mother-in-law suite, and she's since passed away about 10 years ago. So we have been operating it as an Airbnb for 4 years, and we've not had any issues with it. And it is on a separate lot, but it's connected to the main building via a deck. So.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Any other questions by the commissioners? No other questions. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve SU 2106.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve SU 2106. A roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the board on August 3rd, 2021. Our last special use development permit is SU 2107. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So for your last special use permit, this is 714 West University Street. This is located on the south side of University, approximately halfway between Maple and Dogwood Street. And here is the excerpt from the letter. In summary, the letter indicates that this use has been in place since January 2021 and is partly rented out online and partly used by the owner's friends and family at no charge. Like past permits, the rules are restrictive to any conditions which we believe would cause issues with the neighbors. And as with previous permits, staff is not aware of any complaints issued on the property's use. Here is the site view. This one is looking south. We didn't do the north view on this one because it was just too wooded and you wouldn't have been able to see the house. With that, staff is recommending approval. If you have any questions, thank you.
Is there anyone from the audience representing this property that want to speak? With none, commissioners, do you have any questions of Mr. Rhodes? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain the famous motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve special use development SU 21-07.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve issue 2107. Roll call, please.
Sally?
Yes.
McKinney?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Driscoll?
Yes.
McKenzie?
Yes.
Song?
Yes.
Montgomery?
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go to the board on August 3rd, 2021. Next item on the agenda tonight is code revision approvals. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Commission. So transitioning again on this today's agenda to looking at code proposals. The first one we're looking at is at the PD zone with respect to private driveways within that zone. These are driveways that are used in major developments, not drives for individual homes or businesses that are obviously are also private as well. That's not what this is addressing. An example of these types of driveways would be ones that would service an apartment complex or maybe like a commercial park or industrial park that are privately maintained but within one lot. The current rules prevents the use of sanitation vehicles on privately owned driveways in the PD zone only, mind you, not all zones, but PD zone. So the rules also prevent routine police patrols on these private driveways. We are proposing to remove the restriction in the PD zone, but also make changes to the rules in Chapter 82 regarding the minimum driveway standards that are for any proposed use by a sanitation vehicle that would have to be approved by the sanitation department. So here is just diving into the text as what's actually being proposed. So looking first at Chapter 102, which is the zoning code. This is the PD zone standards. We see here under private drives. And then we have here in the red being crossed out what is being proposed to be deleted out of the code. So it would say that it would just read, would provide, and then you'd start with snow plowing, removal, sanding, salting. Those were the things that would not be done on the private driveways. So we, in concord with this, we are looking at Chapter 82. So it's a different chapter. And here we have added this text here under this 8236 for the commercial containers and also requirements for collections, which would then basically give sanitation department the ability to make sure that if there was a private drive plan for one of these planned developments, it wouldn't be substandard to the fact that the sanitation trucks would not be able to negotiate curves or be able to get into the development, because obviously nobody wants that. So that's why this section here was added specifically in 8236. And so just in summary, we believe that these changes will allow for a better development outcome for planned developments which want to make use of private drives rather than dedicating a new street for city maintenance. Furthermore, it should be mentioned that this change to Chapter 82 also allows legal access to existing apartment complexes or similar style developments which are on privately owned driveways for the sanitation services. Staff is recommending approval of both changes, and we stand ready for any of your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Once again, is there anyone from the audience who wants to address this? Commissioners?
I just wondered if you could provide an example property. I was trying to picture what was being described in my mind.
One in the PUD or?
Well, just a private drive that isn't currently able to be accessed by a vehicle.
Yes. Well, there's none that I'm aware of currently built. What originally triggered, just to give you some of the history of this, and I know I went into that a little bit more in the memo, but there was a development called Aurora Gables, I believe, that was off of East Copperleaf Street, that was a horseshoe-shaped design that was PD zone, had a private drive, but there was issues with, at the time, and this was, I believe, like in 2013 or something. It was a while back now. There was just concerns that driveway was not going to work, and so we added this section of the code to prohibit the use of these trash limb and recycling pickup. But the unintended consequence of that is then the sanitation would have to put all the roll carts for the entire development along the major road. And so if that is like a road, for instance, like Don Hill Road, that sanitation truck would have to stop there and pick up every single one of those trash bins, potentially blocking the road for up to maybe 30 minutes, waiting to take out every single one when normally they would just go right into the development. So so to give you a short answer to that, there isn't really an actual example in place now, but it has come up with potential developments in the future.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any other questions on the code revision approval?
There's really no expected consequence or impact to existing stuff right now. This is all in the future for planned developments.
Correct. Yeah, the ones that are already approved, I don't think have this issue. The Foxtail, they're planning to dedicate the street, which is a completely separate situation than a private driveway. So.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the change to the code.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, Sally. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
McKinney,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
Kenzie.
Yes.
Motion is approved. These revisions will go to the Board of Directors on the August 3rd meeting. Next item, item F, is the City Comprehensive Plan update. And Ben?
Actually, I did have another code item to address before we get to comp plan.
Okay, go for it, Ben. I'm sorry.
Yes. So this is a code update to Chapter 102-41. What we're looking at is this is the first part of the code, the zoning code, that covers all the use units. And if you remember kind of your primer on how we do the zoning here in Siloam, everything is based off of use units, which are kind of like collection buckets of many different types of uses that are in a unit of that you would then plug into different zones. And so we're talking about use unit 22, which is a unit that is currently referred to as adult business, but also addresses specifically the body modification or tattoo business, that type of thing. And so the proposal amends the title of the body art modification businesses from just saying adult business to something that would be more descriptive to what actually it's doing. And then the use unit presently restricts this only to the I-1 zone. And we have been given guidance by the City Board of Directors to open this to a larger area. So we have suggested that this be included in the C2 zone as a special use permit, which I know you are all familiar with the number that you've just reviewed. We have also added the I2 zone as another permitted zone by right. So we'd have I1, I2 by right, and then C2 special use. And by doing this, this opens up new areas in town for these types of businesses, which I'll show you more detail later on in the presentation. And here you see the proposed text from the ordinance. The changes again are shown in red. We have changed the title as I mentioned, the adult businesses are handled in use unit 23, so it's not really necessary to refer to this as adult business. And we have also expanded definition of body art to include piercings and subdermal implants that are not part of a medical procedure performed by a licensed medical professional. Below that text in the chart, you see what's being changed in terms of the allowance in the different zones, as a special use permit is in the I2 zone, and then we have the C2 as the special use zone. So when this originally came up for the board's consideration, as I mentioned, we received guidance from the city board of directors. We presented kind of a series of maps to kind of just give an idea what areas of town currently are allowed for the body art, tattoo businesses, and what would be changed with the proposal. So this map just shows you everywhere in town that's currently zoned I1. These are the locations, the permitted locations for the body art businesses. And just to highlight, this is you got the city airport right here, and the businesses Cobb, Vantress right in front. We have many areas along the Kansas City Southern Railroad and the city's industrial park, which is pretty much north off of Country Club, just south of some of the new subdivisions that are going up that way. So, and then some various other locations also where south of town where I believe Simmons has their medical, it used to be Sirocco chairs right there in that area off of Waukesha Road. So here we just show what would happen by allowing by right the I2 zone. That's the light industrial zone. That's shown the brighter pink color. Pretty much the same areas. There are a few other little spots that have opened up, but more or less generally the same areas. We're not really changing a whole lot of what regions or neighborhoods in town these would be allowed. And then adding in the C2, as you can see, drastically increases the availability of these businesses. Again, we've been given the direction to open this out to more areas in town. So the C2 would be by special use only, so not by right. So they would need to come back with a special use permit before the Planning Commission and board before they would be able to open up in any of the C2 zone districts. And so with that, we are recommending approval of the ordinance as presented, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this issue? Commissioners?
Why weren't they wanting to do C2 by right? Was there any discussion about that? Why special use?
Well, that's a good question. I think partly the challenge with the C2 is it is such a large area, and there are C2 and a lot of different neighborhoods in town that have different character areas, character zones. I mean, you have a lot along Highway 412 to be sure, but also, keep in mind there's C2, up and on Tulsa Street. I don't know if you can see me circling that, but in other little neighborhoods here and there. And so we just didn't want to have a situation where we opened it to everybody by right if there was one that there was a concern because it just didn't fit in with the area. Keep in mind this was considered an adult business for a long time, and so there's kind of a need to just make sure there's an extra level of review and scrutiny on these to make sure they fit in and presented in a way that's complementary to the community. So,
in case there's a stigma against a tattoo shop.
Potentially, yeah.
I have a question for you, Ben. I believe there is a body piercing sign currently on Mount Olive that I believe is in a C2.
Mm-hmm.
What happens there?
I've noticed the same location. That is a different situation because embedded within a larger business, a salon, that is not considered body piercing by the nature of the entire business. And so it's not that, because keep in mind, Walmart probably has body piercing as well. Anyone has earrings, that's a body piercing. So you're not talking about the act of doing body piercing. What it's talking about is if the entire business was a body piercing business and that was the entire identity of the business, and they didn't do anything else, then they would fall into this category. So we just wanted to make sure that when we were adding the description of it, the body modification, body art, all that, we included body piercing in with that description. So.
And what you're talking about is tongue and lip and nose rings and etc.
We didn't go into the particular...
Well, I understand that, but if it is proven or there is a complaint on quote-unquote body piercing on a current business in a C2, that in fact they are doing body piercing and not just earrings, what would happen?
Again, it's on the nature of the business. If it is a salon that offers that as a service, it is permitted as a salon. If it is a body art business, a piercing business, and that's pretty much all they do is the piercing, then that would be a separate category. That would be looked at as under this use unit 22.
Right, I understand. I would hope that this salon is truly a salon and not. Anyway, moving on. Any other questions? Seeing no questions, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the revision to the code.
I have a motion to approve Chapter 102 approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Montgomery. Roll call, please.
Montgomery,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Kinney, Smith,
Yes.
Driscoll,
Yes.
McKenzie,
Yes.
Song.
Yes.
Motion is approved, and this will go to the board on August the 3rd, 2021. Thank you, Ben. Next item on the agenda is the City Comprehensive Plan Monthly Update. And then just follow right on, Ben, with the board-approved permits.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. So we have a annexation to cover this evening. This is at the 15,000 block of Highway 59, which runs north of Sherry Whitlock Drive. If this is annexed, the requested zone will be C2, which would match the 40-acre piece that's just to the south of it. And this does generally comply with the future land use map. It's a mixed land use map, which two zones, but the majority of it is commercial, so we think that that's fit with it. This will, I believe that date is actually incorrect, I apologize, but that will go to the board as stated in the agenda. But here we have the map site plan that is shown on the provided with the application, and then we have the site view. So this property would be the one just north of the yellow field there, right there. That would be annexed in. So with that, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, board, do you have any questions on the annexation zoning development permit, board-approved permits? Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 8, staff-approved permits. You all received all 6 of those staff-approved permits. Do you have any, and I hope you've reviewed them, do you have any questions or comments on any of the staff-approved permits? Well, it looks like we have no comments on the staff-approved permits. That being the case, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.